So how to get sober from nicotine in 2023. So I was talking to a friend recently, shout out to Ian, and he was saying that this year one of his big goals is to get sober from nicotine. And I think that's an awesome goal. I know a lot of people struggle with nicotine, and it's kind of one of those addictions that I think hides under the surface. Obviously, people know that nicotine isn't good for you, cigarettes especially. However, it's so commonly accepted now, it's almost like alcohol, where it just isn't really talked about that much. And it made me reflect on when I used to smoke nicotine, and I did the cigarettes, I did the chew a little bit, I did vaping. And I'm super thankful I got clean from it, and I'm looking forward to sharing some of those things that helped me get clean from it, and maybe it can help you as well along your journey. So I started smoking in 2016, 2015, and it's crazy because it started off like any addiction, like very small. So I was living at home and I got my first pack of cigarettes. I smoked American Spirits, so I was super healthy, obviously. And I remember I would take a puff like once a week, just one puff, because I was just curious. I was smoking a lot of weed at the time, and I wanted, of course, more buzz because the weed was starting not to work as much. And so I would take that puff like once a week. I would be when my parents were gone at work, and I'd be like watching for the neighbors and stuff, because obviously I had to be outside. And I remember just getting like this crazy head rush. Like I was like, holy shit, it's hard to describe. It was like I was freaking floating, and I loved it. And so of course what happened is that as the days went on, it was like, okay, I'm gonna smoke, half a cigarette once a week. And you know what, I'm doing okay with that. I'm gonna go every twice a week, not too bad, right? Just playing around, having fun with it. And then before I knew it, it became, I'm gonna do half a cigarette every day. And then it was like, I might as well just do a full cigarette because I'm doing a half a cigarette. And before I knew it, I was doing a full 3-4 cigarettes a day. I don't know if I ever got to a pack. However, I was definitely, smoking heavily, buying multiple times a week. That stuff's expensive, man. $8 a pop. It adds up. And then so I moved out of the home and I started living in an apartment, and I would remember just smoking on that. We had like a balcony, and that just became my smoking place. My roommates smoked, so we could all smoke together. And just from the moment I woke up, I hit that balcony and I was lighting up a cigarette to start my day. And before I knew it, it had escalated to where it was just part of my life. It was just a habit. It was just a part of who I was, my identity. And from there, I decided to try like vaping. I kind of knew that cigarettes weren't like great for me, so I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna try vaping instead. Of course, I didn't quit cigarettes. I just added on the vaping, and so I had one of those big mods. I would just blow this like crazy smoke out, and I thought it was so cool. And so fast forward a few months later, I just had this realization that like I can't keep doing this. Like I've seen the effects, I've seen how it affects your lungs. Obviously there's like those, if you guys remember growing up and watching the DARE presentations, right? D-A-R-E, that really worked, didn't it, right? And they would show like people who had smoked for like years and years, and their lungs were just like filthy black. And I knew like, okay, I had some common sense. Okay, this is not what I want my lungs to look like when I'm older. So I quit. I started doing a few things to help me kind of wean off as fast as possible. So that's kind of what we're going to be diving in today. The first one I did was I did go cold turkey. So I know I talk a lot on this channel about cold turkey versus slow and steady. Nowadays I recommend slow and steady, and that's what I do when I have an addiction I'm working on, because I think cold turkey can be a bit much. However, it worked for me, so I'm not going to discredit it or say that it doesn't work. And if that's something you want to try, I support you 100%, because obviously it would be hypocritical for me to say don't do cold turkey when I did cold turkey. And I got lucky, I think. I just for some reason I had the motivation and I ran with it, and I just quit and never touched it again. So that was a big win. And I think though, if you have tried cold turkey a few times and it doesn't work, or it's too much, it's too traumatic, then slow and steady is a really good option, because what slow and steady does is one, it's not so traumatic, it's not so jarring to the system. Two, you can kind of say goodbye to the substance, like almost have like a grieving process, a breakup process. So how does slow and steady work? Just over time, you just slowly take away a little bit at a time. And so let's say you're smoking every day, twice a day. So to start, you're gonna go, okay, I wanna smoke one time less this day, and then I'll go back to my normal routine. And then a couple days later, do it again. I'm gonna do one time less each day. or this day, and do that again until it gets easy. And before you know it, you'll be like, okay, I can easily just not do it one time that I used to do it. And from there, it's like, okay, time to step it up a little bit. So it's like, I might go a full day then without nicotine, just one day, and then go back to my usual using. A couple days later, I'm gonna try one more day again, do that, and that's gonna get easy, and you can kind of see where this is going. 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, a week, and before you know it, you're gonna be living most of your life without nicotine. And it's like, wow, this is, you start to feel the benefits, you start to see the benefits, and then every time, this is the magic of going slow and steady. Every time you go back and use the substance again, you notice how unpleasant it is, how much anxiety it gives, how disgusting it is, especially with cigarettes. I know my hands would smell like, ash for like the whole day. My breath would probably rank. And I remember when I was in high school, we would smoke those, swishers. And we never inhale, but we just go to the park and pretend we were really cool. And I just remember we'd have to wash our hands, scrub it profusely, so the next day our parents wouldn't know that we had, smoked swishers. And yeah, even washing the hands profusely still smelled disgusting. So I know definitely that was a big benefit of quitting, was that I didn't have to have this nasty breath and this nasty smell on me at all times. So after quitting, whether you go slow or steady or cold turkey, if you do go cold turkey, I do recommend reaching out to people to be able to talk about it, to be able to kind of express what you're going through, because it can be a bit intense. There are support groups for nicotine. I can't say them by name, but if you use your common sense, you can probably figure out what it is. And those are super helpful. They've helped my friends get off nicotine before, and they really work. So I just totally recommend checking that out. The second thing, and this is what I talked about with my buddy recently about, is exercise. And he really wants to start an exercise routine this year. And he knows deep down, I know he knows deep down, is that it's really gonna help him, and especially it's gonna help him quit nicotine, because one, it's gonna help start to bring all that phlegm and gunk that's just in the lungs. It's gonna help kind of get that out of the system a lot faster. So cardio is a great way to help that out. So what I did when I was quitting nicotine is I started going on a mile run a day, just a mile, nothing crazy. And I just remember just wheezing. It was like I couldn't get a breath. However, I was like, okay, I gotta keep doing this, because obviously this is not how I wanna be living here. And as I continued to run every day, what I noticed is that one day, it was after a month or so, I just remember my breath was clear. And it was the craziest thing. I was just like, holy shit, I've been so used to breathing the gargling, phlegmish, disgusting breath that I kind of just didn't realize that what it was like to breathe clear again. And that first breath I took that was clear, it was the craziest. I was tripping out. I was like, whoa, this is what breathing's like, holy shit. And I just remember every time I go on a run, I would be coughing up this yellow gunk. I'd be spitting loogies, and it would be disgusting. But I knew it was my body clearing it out. So cardio is really gonna be beneficial for that. And I've talked about this a ton on the channel, is that not only does exercise help with getting rid of an addiction, it helps just creating better lifestyle habits that are really gonna help you in the long term, not just in the short term here. These are gonna be lifelong habits that are gonna help you live longer, help with mood, help with building better relationships. Exercise is so key, and it's just something I'm gonna really keep pushing for the lifelong longevity of this channel, just how important exercise is. I just made a video actually on the importance of exercise in quitting alcohol with my friend Jaron Scott. I'll link that down below, you can check it out. He goes into a lot of detail on how to use exercise in a productive way to get rid of either drinking, or you can use it for any addiction. So the last point we're going to talk about here is really starting to ask yourself, how is smoking nicotine really helping me? And this is going to be really powerful, because what I found, and what you might find as well, is that the only part I really enjoyed about smoking nicotine was the ritual behind it, the act of going to the store and buying a pack of cigarettes, or filling up my vape pen, putting it up to my mouth, the excitement I would get by thinking about getting to smoke, about just seeing the big puff of cloud when I would be doing vaping and stuff. when I really actually thought about how was nicotine actually affecting me and how I felt when I was inhaling it and like, you know, after the effects were kicking in, I'm like, this sucks. this actually really does suck. It increases anxiety, I'm coughing, it's kind of gross, it doesn't taste that great, especially that vape stuff. Ugh, nasty. I actually liked cigarettes more than I liked vaping. Or especially with tobacco, with dipping, man, like doing dip and snus and stuff, like gross. You get a major buzz, but it's kind of disgusting. And this can be applied to any addiction. And this is what I found with every addiction I had, is that I really didn't like the actual doing it as much as I liked the process behind it. So with like drinking, going to the liquor store, hanging out with friends, like getting excited to take that first shot. With marijuana, you know, packing the bowl, grinding up the weed. I was way more excited about that than the actual doing of the substance itself. And obviously, once I realized that, every time I would use, I could start to say, okay, it's just the process that I like. So I don't actually want to do it. And over time, telling myself that over and over again, I started to be less interested in the process, because I'm like, it's not really worth it. Like, I could just like pretend to put a cigarette to my mouth and get that same like excitement or whatever. Or I could use all that time or be doing rituals and go to the gym or hang out with friends, and just the pros started to outweigh the cons. And so guys, comment down below what your experience with nicotine is if you're trying to quit in 2023. If you are looking to quit and you would like some one-on-one help, feel free to reach out for one-on-one coaching. And I also have a free How to Get Sober in 2023 PDF guide. It'll be linked down below. Feel free to check that out. There's going to be 7 different tips on how to get sober that go into detail, specific detail, and may be able to help you out. And feel free to reach out if you've downloaded it and you found it beneficial. So guys, best of luck with your sobriety journey this year. Have a great one, and talk to you soon. Peace.